Off top, we got to be honest about the 49ers. Their window is closed. Unless Christian McCaffrey returns as some version of himself very close to what he was last year. This is no disrespect to Kyle Shanahan. He designs and creates and schemes great offenses. But it only raises the floor of the offense. In order to reach the ceiling, which the 49ers will have to win a championship, you need great players like Debo and Christian McCaffrey. They do a few things to the defense that makes life a lot easier for everyone else. The number one thing is they create unexpected explosive plays. You don't have to scheme anything up if your guy's just awesome. The second thing, Christian McCaffrey distorts defenses. And it makes players that are good look great and players that are bad look good. And the last thing is they make red zone efficiency a lot easier. I'll show you in the dots coming up. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, welcome in the great Mina Kimes as usual on Friday. Hey, Mina.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Also, shout out to your husband, Nick. He sent me a text that made me feel really happy because he likes my show. Or my episode specifically.
Specifically your episode of the show. Yeah.
He was like, I didn't know Bill Belichick was that weird. And I was like, well, we took some liberties. We were trying to use him as comic relief a little bit.
Yeah, he the first time I think it maybe it was in your episode, the one after, where he kind of chews out Aaron Hernandez, and Nick turned to me and goes, whose side are you on?
All right, here we go. So I prepped everybody by telling them I was going to show the importance of the superstar players to Kyle Shanahan's offense. So the first dots I'm going to show is how impressive Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are at creating unexpected explosive plays. And Mina, to be clear, is a term that I'm trying to get off the ground. I think it matters. It's not schemed up explosive plays. It's unexpected explosive plays. Like you're just running a mundane, regular play. You think you're going to get 5-6 yards. You look up. You got a touchdown. I think that matters to Kyle Shanahan's offense, and it matters to all offense.
Should we call these Henrys?
Oh,
Derrick Henry, who just randomly will take like a what should be a 6-yard run and gets to the second level and becomes a 92-yard touchdown.
Let's workshop it.
Okay. It's a no. You can just say no.
No, it's better than unexpected explosive plays. But anyway, here's a few of them that I drew out here. All right, here we go. This is the playoffs last year against the Lions. All right, they blitz, routine check down. You think, right? Nah, Christian McCaffrey's going to turn that into a huge gain. They don't have that in their offense this year. I'll show you some plays where they do the same thing. It doesn't work out. Again, similar situation where they blitz, they feel aggressive. This is the Super Bowl, the overtime of the Super Bowl. Christian takes it to the crib. There's Deebo Samuel right there. Just a little short handoff. Deebo turns it into a big play. That's missing from the offense. Again, in the playoffs last year against the Packers, that should be 5 yards. He breaks 3 tackles, I think. Christian takes it to the crib. I moved the screen that time. That was fun. And now this is a similar explosive play, unexpected explosive play. But the version of this one the reason why I brought this one up is because I think it's interesting that you have all Deebo, Ayuk, and Christian all to the same side. And it's kind of a pick your poison. And because Deebo's ability to run the ball, you can put him in the backfield, and Christian's ability to catch the ball, it plays tricks on the personnel. So they're able to create a matchup right here where it's Deebo against a linebacker. Sorry, Mina. It's the Seahawks. And then Deebo turns it into a big play up the sideline because all three of them command some
Bobby
attention.
Wagner dot looks so sad there. Okay, guys.
That's fine. I put a couple of the screens on here because the 49ers aren't running as many screens as they have last year, but this was a great game. Deebo had like 3 touchdowns last year against the Eagles, and it was just all Deebo making plays. And I know that people try to denigrate our man Brock Purdy because Deebo does this all the time, but Brock Purdy is actually playing really well this season. Well, I don't know if I would say really well.
Until last week.
Yeah, until last weekend. I would say that they're asking Brock to do a lot, and he's capable of it, but they need more help. So, Mina, what do you think about the unexpected explosives in this offense?
You need an acronym like, what's another word for unexpected? Surprising?
Well, we could just,
explosives?
UEE? No, UEE doesn't roll off the tongue.
SEPs. Yeah.
SEPs.
PEPs. Is there a P word? Anyways, I think the absence of what you're showing, and it makes me want to pull up certain stats, but I'll wait, is it really illustrates what's missing. this year, right?
Pull up the stats, Mina. That's one of my favorite parts about doing this segment is when I watch your eyes go down. Something that I said.
Well, you made me want to look
like,
something up. Yeah.
Mina goes down and dives in. We can edit out whatever time it takes if it sparks something in your mind. I know this is very difficult for me to come up with these segments because when I'm doing it, I fall into immediate rabbit holes all over the place, like statistical questions. Like I want to know how often they're being blitzed and how aggressive the opponents are, or the coverages that Christian McCaffrey allows for, because he does not allow for very many coverages, or he forces teams to take coverages out. Like they don't blitz towards him. Sorry, Mina, go ahead.
No, the thing that I wanted to look up is kind of what I expected, which is on short passes, right? Which is a lot of what you have highlighted there. I should have actually included negative, not just 0 to 10 yards. But the Niners last year, 0.17 EPA per play, which is obviously near the top of the NFL. Part because of everything you just saw there, the ability to get those yards after the catch, to get mismatches on linebackers. This year on short passes, they're 24th with negative 0.01 EPA per play. And that's kind of ball game there, right? Because when you watch them, the run game's actually still fine. Jordan Mason is a good, normal running back who can like break tackles, and the run game looks fine. And at times you have different receivers available to Brock Purdy. You know, it's obviously some guys have been in and out of the lineup, but what is missing is exactly what you highlighted there, which is the ability to take plays that other offenses do not get a lot out of. And turn them into, I would say, not just explosives, Domonique, but also, like that classic Niners 6-yard slant that becomes 11 yards. You know what I mean? Like they just kill you that way.
One of the rabbit holes that I got drawn into that I managed not to include in this was just about the behavior, or the blitz behavior, I guess, of the opponents. And so I decided the perfect team to look at was last year's game against the Vikings and this year's game against the Vikings. And so instead of relying on true media assessment, I looked and watched all of the passing plays, and I saw that they only ran a 0 look against them twice last year and only actually ran a 0 blitz against them once. And I bet you could guess what happened the one time they actually ran the 0 blitz against them. Despite the fact that the Vikings still won that game, they ran that 0 blitz, and the 49ers motioned McCaffrey out and got him in isolation and just threw him a quick pass, and he took it for 40 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, all right, we're never doing that again. And then I watched their game this year, and they did it 4 times and never paid for it. Never, not once paid for it.
McCaffrey in particular, guys, like I think I said this last week, earlier this week, pardon me. Alex Smith and I talked about the Niners, the loss. And I said to him, I kind of now wish I could go back and pitch harder for McCaffrey as MVP of the offense, because obviously, like you're talking about the motion, his gravity is so lost now. Sorry.
No, you're good.
You guys, this is a mind melt situation.
This is what we do every time. This is what we do every time. So Charlie cannot divulge some of the text messages that I sent him this morning when I was watching this and noticing that Ayuk's separation numbers are down this year, and then I'm watching the film from last year, like, oh, so we was telling everybody to pay Ayuk because he gets separation, while they actually should have been paying Christian double because he's creating so much of this separation.
The other thing is, the Niners face a fair amount of man coverage. Kansas City, right, played a ton of man coverage with great success against them. And watching it, it's funny because like all their skill players are really good still, right? Like George Kittle's still unbelievable. It makes contested catches. I still think Ayuk is a good receiver. Obviously, he's out for the season. I know he had a tough start to the year. Debo is amazing in terms of his versatility. But when they're facing man coverage, Dominique, Christian McCaffrey is really the only player that almost every defense in the NFL can't defend in man coverage.
So let's dive into these dots about the Mick gravity, because it is incredible. So it's not just against man coverage, it's against zone. This is last year against the Steelers. There's Christian McCaffrey right here. Watch what he does to this linebacker, creating that lane for Ayuk and that separation that we're talking. Look at it. It's just an easy throw, easy route for everyone. Big chunk thanks to Christian McCaffrey. Again, this is cover 2. Again, it's not just man. This is cover 2. Now, watch this. Cover 2 is half, so we got a safety here. Corner's responsible for the flat. This is a corner away from Christian McCaffrey covering the flat. This is a corner near Christian McCaffrey covering the flat. And you want to see Ayuk's separation? Look at that separation, that enormous window to drop that ball into. They're not getting that anymore. Again, last year. So this one doesn't look as obvious because Christian goes to the right. This is a blitz, and it's supposed to be 3 under 3, like it's a zone blitz. So we got 3 deep, 1, 2, 3 deep, and 3 underneath. But you see this right side linebacker squeezes to Christian, which pulls this other linebacker over and creates a one-on-one in a bunch of space with Ayuk right there to attack that spot. Boom.
I love how that highlights too the middle of the field, right?
Mhm.
Because of the way that they use Christian in the flats and the way the Niners are able to get to a lot of their core middle of the field concepts, both off of play action and not off of it, because of the space created by Christian McCaffrey in that part of the field, because of the way that they use him in the flats in particular. I think the other thing, Domonique, that is maybe underappreciated is not only his impact and his gravity, but how much the offense evolved because of him. You know what I mean? Like the Niners with Kyle Shanahan for years, we thought of as this traditional, they were the under center, wide zone, then boot, play action, passing attack. And when Christian came halfway through the 2022 season, he was there for all of 2023, they kept going away from that because he himself was human play action, right?
Right.
He himself was the run pass conflict on every play. So they didn't need to run play action. And now it almost feels like they have to rebuild or go back in some ways to the old offense because they don't have them.
Right. That's a credit to, it's the.
You guys have the exact same mind meld on this.
Yeah, I use the exact same terminology of him being his own play action earlier in the day we were preparing for the show. But that's a credit to Kyle Shanahan too. And that's why I feel like Kyle's getting criticized a bit right now because everyone says you're supposed to create a great offense. He's creating a good offense with not great players. 7th most
efficient offense in the NFL.
Yeah, but what I'm most impressed by and what I have been about Kyle Shanahan throughout his entire career is he builds around the players as much as it can be possible. And him to be able to evolve the offense around Christian McCaffrey is all great until Christian McCaffrey's not there. Yeah. And now it's like, what do we do with this offense when we can't get the gravity? And this is, I got a couple plays. I don't know if you want to see these of this year with Mason. Just they're sad plays, but here this is a similar situation where it's like, look, no one's
back.
No one's squeezed into Mason right here. Yeah. So because of that, this window is closed. So all right, that's fine. If you guys want to do that to Christian, you saw this already. We'll throw it to him. He'll take it to the crib. Mason, all right, that's fine. This is a serviceable play, but it's not what you get for Christian McCaffrey. And here it is. This is the most egregious example of anti-gravity that I found. There's Mason coming out of backfield. They're ignoring this. they are ignoring him.
Anti-gravity. No, that should be a metric for if you don't command respect from the defense.
Yeah, really this is I don't know what planet has the least gravity. The smallest one, right? Is Pluto still a planet? God. Yeah, there is no gravity
Pluto's
created by it.
Pluto's a dwarf planet.
Okay. Oh, this was the play that I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you need to see this, but this was the blitz play just because Christian's great. See ya.
I just think this is so interesting too because it just shows that in certain ways this season is like the prison that Kyle Shanahan created because Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey are so unique, so irreplaceable, and so unlike players that are going to be replacement level fill-ins that the drop off of what he can do without these guys makes them just a completely different team in a way that's not you don't normally see in a next man up league.
And the result is look, I'm not saying Purdy is above criticism, and you're seeing him. The guys are open too. Against the Chiefs, there were plays where guys were open. You've seen that this year. It's not like it's not like the Cowboys offense or something, right? He still has unbelievable skill players. Guys are still open, but it does feel like to me, Domonique, Kyle has to find and we don't know what the heck's going on with Christian McCaffrey. He might come back, but if he doesn't, Kyle has to find a way to like create guardrails again in this offense. Like right now, it is way too much drop back passing. I feel like there's too much on Brock Purdy's shoulders at the moment, and he has to find a way to get it a little bit more, almost to like I said earlier. I think it has to go back to kind of what it was before McCaffrey in some ways.
I think we're getting close to something here, because I think it's lane bumpers in bowling, because it's not, because I guess I could be wrong, but the analogy of guardrails suggests to me that we need to slow this thing down, but they need to find a way to create these plays or create these strikes without the risk, and that's those bumpers. It was Christian McCaffrey on one side and Deebo Samuel on the other side. Yeah. So like I get what you're saying, but how do you protect your quarterback from asking him to do too much and still create the high ceiling of the offense when I don't know, your best receiver is gone for the year, your second best receiver, or I guess your first best playmaker is gone and may come back in Christian. Your second best playmaker in Debo is gone, and Ayuk is gone, and Ricky Pearsall got shot in the chest. Like, what are you?
Well, one thing I think they could do is run the ball a little bit more. I talked about this in my preview of the Cowboys game, which, like, it's the Cowboys. It's not complicated. You know the assignment. But the Niners so far this season, I used the RBSDM early down pass frequency, which counts for win probability. They are running the ball in neutral situations on early downs at the third lowest rate in the NFL this year. Yeah. And I understand that Christian McCaffrey's not back there, but I'm telling you, Jordan Mason's a good back. He's a normal back, but he's a good back, and the run game is still pretty efficient. So I like that kind of goes back to what I was saying about putting a little bit too much on Brock Purdy's shoulders. I do feel like he can go back, in time a little bit to before what it was like without McCaffrey.
Agreed. And I would say this about Brock Purdy. In some of those must-throw situations last year, he made the throws. But the problem is, I think to your point, the need for guardrails is you can't ask him to make those throws all game long. Yeah. Like, he's not that guy. Most guys aren't that guy. And particularly when you don't have very many guys that you can just throw it up. Like, I didn't pull out the Debo. We don't think of Debo as a great receiver, but I didn't pull out, watching last year, there's a lot of plays where Debo just goes and wins balls, and Ayuk goes and wins balls.
That was one of the most interesting things when you dove into this over the last 24 hours. We were texting about it. I think we went in thinking maybe Ayuk was the best receiver on that team. And this morning you texted me being like, nah, Debo's much more valuable to what they want to do.
Yeah, he seems to be, to me at least, the way that they've developed this offense, it feels like there are a couple generators, and Christian is obviously the number one. And then Ayuk is really great in his role. But if you asked me for one game we had to win, you trade one of these guys or you have to bench one of these guys, there's no questions to ask.
Death beams pointing down at you. Fate of the world's on the line. Who do you got?
Yeah, exactly. I would be very confused at why we're deciding fate of the world in a football game. But if we were, I would say, and the rules said you got to sit down one of your top three playmakers, it's Ayuk.
You missed the layup again.
Oh, what was it like?
So I got Iguodala.
Oh, damn it. I got Iguodala. Sorry, man. It's an inside joke. All right. The last thing, red zone. Do we got time for red zone? Everyone looks tired.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no.
All right, here we go.
Don't tell people they look tired.
Nah, I was actually just talking about Charlie because he closed his laptop.
I forgot that we had more dots. I thought that was it.
Which normally means
after I messed up the Iguodala joke, I was like, oh, that's it.
Mina doesn't look tired. Charlie just slammed his laptop. All right, here we go. The red zone is the last place, and this is from last week. This is issues in the red zone. These are a double coverage, so they end up doubling the receiver over here, and then they double Kittle on the other side, and they leave Mason in man coverage, and this is the result of the play. An interception. Purdy gets some pressure on him. And that's a coverage that you would never see with Christian McCaffrey. You know why? Because if you do that, this is a similar version of that. It's not a true double, but it ends up being a double where you have 4 defenders over the 2 inside defenders against Arizona last year. Christian McCaffrey, boom. He runs angle route as good as a receiver. This is, again, man coverage. You know what you can do with man coverage when you have Christian McCaffrey? Just race him to the other side of the field. It's not complicated. This is not like genius scheming. This is my flag football coaching. Like, where's the fast kid? Get him the ball and let him run. And this is just an example of some McGravity creating a touchdown for
the fast kid
Kittle.
who gets to go against less fast kids because of his position, right? That's kind of the Christian McCaffrey magic, right? He's not going up against corners like out there, and yeah.
But yeah, this is just the last example of his impact on the red zone, because you see how tight these underneath players are relative to everyone else on the field, and a very good all-pro level tight end just goes untouched to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. And the 49ers are struggling in the red zone, and often, like, the red zone decides games. You can get as many trips down there as the other team. If you're kicking field goals and they're scoring touchdowns, the gap will be enormous. Mina, did you have anything on the red zone?
No, everything you've highlighted is correct. Do you feel like, because it seems to me from the outside that that this Christian McCaffrey injury and the extent of it took this organization by surprise, right? And I guess my feeling is, and I'm as big a fan of Kyle Shanahan as anyone, they seem almost like a little shell-shocked by it on the field in some ways. Because it's not like they're still calling the offense like he's out there. They're not asking Jordan Mason to do the Christian McCaffrey stuff. But it feels like that a lot of the times they haven't figured out how to get back to that sort of, especially the run-pass conflict, but also to create the kind of space that they were creating. Because the thing about the Niners offense is, before Christian McCaffrey, with Jimmy Garoppolo, they were a machine, right? Like, they were still getting like massive yards after the catch, and the play action passing attack was devastating. And it feels like they kind of transformed their identity, and then they were caught almost before the season, not by surprise in some ways, that he wasn't there, and they haven't quite figured it out.
Yeah, I think I would respond to that by saying that I'm guilty of this as much as anyone else, but I think we get away from being in the locker room and on the field, and we forget how difficult it is to be good at any one thing. I remember in practicing how often we would practice like basic stuff and whatever. Like we do cover 4 drills all the time. When I was on a team that was like cover 4 centric, it's because it's really hard to be good at any one thing. And when we look up at Kyle Shanahan and we look back at how their offense evolved, how long it took them to evolve their offense to perfectly accent what Christian McCaffrey, you just made that point, what Christian McCaffrey does well. I think it's possible that they recognized that their engine of their offense is gone, and they recognized they needed to do something else. But it's really, really hard in the NFL to like get good enough at something for that to then become your identity and backbone. Just even if they knew, like after the Super Bowl loss last year, like it's really difficult to then. And then Ayuk's not in camp; he doesn't show up till just before. It's like, how do we focus this offense? What are you good at? What do we need to do?
And you made this point at the top, like it's still a good offense statistically, so it's not like massive drop off. They've just really struggled in the red zone, and then obviously against the Chiefs, you really saw some of the weaknesses exposed.
I mean, I'll close it on this, and we'll get to Jeff Darlington in a second. But I think what I was starting to think of, but I caught myself, was this is in some ways like a judgment on Purdy, because you always think like, well, you got a great quarterback, he'll lift you, but then you just have to look over at like Patrick Mahomes, the greatest quarterback we've seen. If you don't have the talent or the system that you feel comfortable in, it doesn't really work out, because I've been really impressed with Purdy so far this year, and I wish that his numbers and their success would go along with what I've seen from him, but it's not.
Speaking of success, we're not out?
Oh, damn it. Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, I guess we're going to talk about the Survivor pool.
If you don't want to do it anymore, we don't have to do it. I was under the impression that this was an ongoing bit.
Mina is 6-1.
Yeah, that's why she wants to keep doing it.
I am also 6-1.
Ooh, nice move.
You're not 6-1. You're not. You just stop it.
I am also 6-1.
No, you're not.
Domonique is 4-3. Mina, I don't know if you realize this. Domonique in this Survivor pool we haven't noticed, he has picked the Seahawks twice and the Bengals twice. In 7 weeks. In 7 weeks, 4 of the teams are repeats.
That's not you, Charlie. I'm sorry. That's on production.
So I think we're going to reset the deck. We have 10 weeks left in the season.
Okay.
From here on,
Unreal.
it's me and Domonique versus Mina. So you can make a pick, and then we're going to workshop a pick. Over
Great.
the next 10.
Let's do it.
Mina, you won the preseason. Congratulations.
No,
preseason champion.
You can't reset
There you
the
go.
deck.
Preseason
Way to
champion.
go.
We're all warming up.
Just
And now
warming
it's
up.
me and Domonique.
Such bullshit.
I thought that I was gonna be stuck where I could only pick the Bengals or the Seahawks for the rest of the season. That would have been a fair punishment for cheating.
No, this is great. Mina, who's your team this
Wait,
week?
so now I can pick anyone again?
You can pick anyone.
Yeah, that was the
It's
preseason.
0-0.
It doesn't count.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh my
Jeez.
god, this is so stupid.
I mean, to be fair, we
You
were
guys.
both 6-1, and I gave you the win anyway. so
Nice
you-
job, Charlie. You're so polite.
All right, I'll take the Lions against the Titans.
Good pick. Dominique, who should we pick?
I think we should pick either the Bengals or the Seahawks.
So the Bengals are playing the Eagles. The Seahawks are playing the Bills.
Those are two close games.
Yeah, we could. I don't know. We could take the Broncos against the Bryce Young-led Panthers.
Oh, I
Just
like that.
always bet on Bryce.
No, he might be good now. He took a break and
We
got
could
right.
take the Packers against the Jaguars.
That's a win.
Is that ours?
I'll trust you. Whatever you want to go with because
Trust me, I was 1-6. Why are you trusting me?
you're 6-1.
I was 6-1. That's a good point. The Chiefs are playing the Raiders.
Chiefs and the Raiders.
Yeah.
That's a tough game. I want the Bengals or the Seahawks. If you would disagree with,
All right, we're
those.
taking the Bengals.
yeah.
We're taking the Bengals against the Eagles.
Woo! All right, Mina. Thank you so much.
Can't wait to reset the deck again next week. Good to see you guys.
Congrats on winning the preseason.
Good job, buddy. Bye. All right, now we get to welcome in my favorite ESPN reporter, Jeff Darlington. Also,
Wow.
yeah, I mean you're the best around, right?
I feel like that could be a good shtick. You should say that literally for every single guest you ever have.
No, I don't. So we don't do a lot of reporters.
It's
Because,
a good bit,
yeah,
though.
Yeah, it is a good bit. We should start doing it from here on out. But I mean, you're ESPN reporter, civil rights activist for rich white guys. These just things that on your resume that
Wait,
make me like
Hold
you.
on. Civil rights activist for rich white guys.
Yeah, you don't remember when Scotty
Oh, right.
Schefter was getting
Scotty
accosted
Schefter.
by the police?
That's right.
And you stood up for his
That's
civil
right.
rights? That was great. I
That's
loved
right.
it.
But I would have stuck up for you too. I would have jumped on that cop's back for you.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know.
Do you think that I fought hard enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think you fought hard enough. You gotta weigh the situation because right there it's like, all right, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna take him in. He's gonna meet some
Right.
people that scare him a little bit. That's it. It's not like something really bad's gonna happen. But if you thought there was some real risk, you gotta dive out there.
Yeah.
And if it was me,
Fair.
then you get involved physically.
The second that cop had his pants ripped right in the seat, Scotty was quick.
I don't like how happy Charlie is that you're here either. Anyway,
There is nothing whiter though than me defending Scotty Scheffler outside of a golf course.
oh
My-
man.
My boys all said that it looked like I was basically like at closing time at a bar, like the cop arrested my buddy for stealing a beer out of the beer tub. And I was like chasing after him to try to
Yeah.
defend his.
You said there's nothing whiter, so now I feel challenged at some point for the rest of the show to think of something whiter than you defending Scotty Scheffler's civil
here.
rights.
I got 2 words: Dan Orlovsky.
There we go.
Fair point. All right, so as we do with our guests, we like to do a good game, guilty pleasure game. I will start it off. My good game is obviously Bills at Seahawks. So the Bills just added Amari Cooper to see how, and he played really well last week, I thought. And we've been talking for a while on this show about how that offense was in need of a real legitimate number one receiver, and getting one seemed to improve their offense. But I think I'm also really interested in the Seahawks because Geno Smith was playing as well as anybody at the beginning of the season, and we were waiting for the defense to come around. And it seems like this team is positioned as a leader in their division and could be like a sleeper. I haven't really watched them aggressively since the beginning of the season, and I'm excited to take a look at the Seahawks and see if now, especially that the Bucs are out, the Bucs are all the way out, that they might be that they might be the team in the NFC that sneaks up and surprises some people. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I love the intrigue of it for sure, and I do feel like the Seahawks provide a test like I keep waiting for that good midseason test at this point. And it's not that the Chiefs haven't beaten some good teams. It's just that it feels like that's the test.
Can I lean on the lowest hanging of fruit for this game of what I'm most interested in? Josh Allen hasn't thrown an interception yet.
Oh, yeah.
And that is like such an obvious, but like that's such an anomaly. Yeah. And if you had said 3 years ago, if I could time machine back and be like, Domonique, Josh Allen's going to be going into November and has not thrown an interception yet. And you would be like, that guy?
No,
guy who will throw the ball anywhere on the football field when it's like mash the buttons time?
I'd say it's pretty disappointing that he got injured in the first play of the first game of the season, and I hope he gets back. Like, that's the only way he could go this period of time without throwing an interception.
Not to mention, I've done a few of their games, and like, I saw some stat about his accuracy when he's within 1 yard of the sideline, and it's like insane. And it like that feels like if you're throwing the ball from within 1 yard of the sideline, like that should be 50% interceptions. And somehow he's like completing all of those too. So it's not as if Josh Allen is playing, in my opinion, safer football. No. Like I don't know if these guys just sometimes get lucky, but I just feel like with Josh, somehow it feels like it's just sort of his season.
On top of that, to say that Josh Allen has no interceptions at this point, I'm shocked that he's not like running away with the MVP. Like that's another thing that jumps out to me, because he's clearly not, but he's playing really well. I guess it's just because his direct competition, they played each other.
Right.
He had the worst season or the worst game of his season so far, and Lamar played pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, that game was the beginning of the Ravens getting to this next level, which we'll obviously get to some Ravens talk. But yeah, to me, this just like feels like one of those hit streaks in Major League Baseball when it's not like the best player in the league. Yeah. When it's like, when is this guy ever going to get out again?
But he's hitting defenders with the ball.
Exactly.
Like,
but that's the same thing.
They're
it's
not
like
catching
seeing eye single through the middle. It's like, I don't know. I hope it goes on forever. I hope we end this season with 0 interceptions.
That would be awesome. You want me to do my guilty pleasure game, or you want to hop in?
Go for it.
All right, guilty pleasure game, Cards at Dolphins. And it's not a guilty pleasure game just because we'll be watching Tua play, which makes us all feel guilty, honestly. But, I mean, I will be, like all of us, rooting for him not to get touched and not to have another issue. But I think I'm also kind of guiltily watching Marvin Harrison Jr. because I have a personal stake in this at this point, because before the season, before the draft, I, along with a bunch of other people, said Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL in year one. It's clear that Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors are both better than him right now. But after week one, he had that terrible opening week, and then I came on here and went through the dots and explained to you guys how you're all wrong. And then he came back the next week and made me look smart. And I've been watching since then. And he just don't jump off the screen, and it's frustrating and disappointing. So I'll be watching for that too, Jeff.
You know, it's funny, as a host, you would think that you would let the guest say the game that he picked first, which that was one of my games. But that's okay. I mean, it's not that big.
I
deal.
took
I mean,
one.
It is your,
I also asked you to tell me your games before time so that I did not duplicate it.
You did ask me, and I gave it great thought, and I even told you that I would be at that game. Like I said, I'd be at that game, and you took that game.
All right,
but it's fine. We can still talk about it.
3, 2, 1, action. So guess what game are you excited about watching this weekend, Jeff?
Man, I gotta say, guilty pleasure. No, listen, I do think I will be covering that game, and I am sort of fascinated by what the Dolphins will be with Tua. Now, I mean, I know there's a lot of people who are pointing to the fact that in that same Bills game when Tua got hurt, that he wasn't playing very well even then. And the week one win against the Jaguars, they grinded that out. And at the time, it felt like a really good win because we thought the Jags were going to be a good team. So I think for me, the reason I'm so fascinated by this game is like, this is a team that you had the number one offense in the NFL last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if not only they will get back to that with Tua involved, but really get back to that in general this season.
Tyreek Hill said he was on the verge of tears when he saw Tua return to practice. He was so excited to get the ball again.
Yeah.
There's some people.
I get it.
Yeah, there's some people that I want them to play football.
Yeah.
I don't mean shut up and dribble, but I just really like when you play football. And I'll just leave it at that. Like, it's just a ridiculous thing. He was at tears.
Tears. Verge of tears.
He's on the verge of tears. So he was being funny.
It was a little aphorism for him.
Okay, cool. I thought that that's the sad part is like
you weren't sure.
I could believe anything from Tyreek Hill. If you said Tyreek Hill broke out into a full emotional breakdown tears, I would be like
Terrell Owens, like that's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. I would fully accept that and believe it to be true.
Jeff, I gotta loop you into one thing. We do a weekly survivor pool on this show with Mina. And I find it so funny that Domonique just picked your game because we were going through it. There's been 7 weeks. Domonique has picked the Seahawks twice and the Bengals twice. He's doubled up in 4 of the 7 weeks. He's forgotten who he's picked.
No.
There you go.
You ain't cheating. You ain't trying. Has anybody called me out? You just figured that out today. So whose fault is that?
Hey,
sounds like
I'm
good
surprised
strategy.
You didn't ask for my notes. Like, hey, could you shoot over your notes?
I should have done. It would have been much better if I said I've chosen this game because I'll be covering it this weekend. I'm not going to be anywhere near Miami.
You know this. There are people at ESPN where you'll do the production call and you'll say stuff on that call, and then they'll jump in and say that right before you're about to.
Oh yeah.
You're like, dude, that was my thought in the production call.
I hate take takers. Takers are the worst. But honestly, I've come to the realization that it's not their fault. It's like, I think, well, I can't say it's not their fault, but it's unintentional. At least for the person that I'm thinking about.
It's unintentional. It's completely intentional.
No. The person that I'm thinking about, or at least he's just a great
I would love to know if we're thinking about the same person.
I guarantee you
we are. But I believe, and maybe he's a great performer, but I find that it's in his head. It's kind of Inception. It's like you put something in his head and then he gets to like talking and you can tell that he's searching for something to say.
Caught in the air.
Yeah. And he's searching for something. And I've been there before. I normally don't take a take. I just I make a joke.
I will not take the take.
Yeah, I don't take a take.
Take the take.
I just make a joke or something and move on. But I've been there before where you're like, all right, I got something to say. Oh, or Greeny comes to you like, oh, it's on me. And you got a filibuster.
Back to you.
But yeah, I think that he's like, hey, I know that I heard this one time. Wow.
We're gonna find out after.
I've heard from several people in the ESPN NFL universe of a specific take thing.
Really?
Yes.
I've never had this conversation. Like, this is revelatory. This is an important moment for me.
I'm pretty sure it's the same person, but
I didn't know this was a thing.
We love this person so
definitely.
Anyway,
we love everybody.
Jeff, what's your good game for this week?
No, I don't remember. That was my
no. That was your guilty pleasure game, wasn't it?
No, that was my good game. Honestly,
you think they would send Jeff Darlington to a guilty pleasure game?
Exactly.
How dare you?
I'm say guilty pleasure is the game I'm going to be at.
Good game.
I said I actually gave you kind of 2 guilty pleasure games because it is fair because neither one is like that. The other game that I'm really fascinated by, total guilty pleasure, is Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the guiltiest of pleasures. To want to see Jameis Winston as a starter for the Browns in coming in after the dumpster fire that was Deshaun Watson. So to me, like that, the other one we'll have to call a good game because the guiltiest of pleasures is Browns Ravens. I have to see what Jameis Winston does here.
From what I understand, in training camp and leading up to the season, Jameis was not good. Then either, and it's not even like Jameis.
No, listen, I know what to expect.
Oh no! Like, I wasn't trying to denigrate your choice. I'm saying that you're gonna get, instead of half interceptions, half touchdowns with Jameis, you'll get a lot of turnovers. And as a cornerback, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And the quotes that come from it, the pregame speeches, like Jameis Winston is the NFL's guilty pleasure.
Are the Browns capable of having like an emotional bump from a new quarterback in there? Because they've sort of punted on the season, so like trading away Amari Cooper, but
the brass has definitely punted on the season, but based on the reaction to losing Deshaun Watson, it seems like these guys are gonna go try to win one for Deshaun. Like, they seem emotionally tied into it, which is I don't want to talk my brethren as football players, but like there's a us against them mentality that is expressed in a very ugly way sometimes. And I do think that at least on the field, no one can get annoyed or I mean, worse than annoyed, offended by the way that they react to losing one of their teammates.
It's going to be an interesting game because they also might just get completely rolled by this Ravens team. Like
also true.
We've been
although is the Browns defense pretty decent? Like
we're getting like a defensive player of the year level year from Denzel Ward, who has quietly become, even above Myles Garrett, the most valuable guy in that defense this year. But they definitely, I mean, Dominique talks about this a lot. Defense is fickle and there's regression year to year, and they definitely aren't as dominant as they were last year as a unit.
Like the Browns were actually a capable team without Deshaun Watson last year. And I guess that's my curiosity. Do they go back to being that? And is Jameis Winston capable of getting them there?
Yeah, their defense is really talented. But and they play pretty straightforward, aggressive man defense, which like there's not really a scheme to beat that. Like if they're really good, then they're really good. But man coverage is a tough way to live your life, particularly when you got Lamar Jackson playing quarterback. So I expect them to get rolled.
I'm on Ravens record watch. I texted Dominique about this the other day that they're on pace to shatter that single season yards record from the New Orleans Saints. And that's even if you kept it as a 16-game season. They might actually beat it in regulation without needing the extra game. And like this could be a big one for that. Because if they,
I feel like they are the team. They are showing that they are the team we thought they were in the offseason.
Yeah,
like Derrick Henry could prove to be one of the better acquisitions we've seen. And isn't it funny too? Like this happens all the time though. Like it happened with Brady when he went to the Bucs. Like everybody plays revisionist history and starts screaming about why didn't the Cowboys take Derrick Henry? Like I think Derrick Henry's in a pretty perfect spot for him. Yeah. That's if he ended up elsewhere, it might not be the same situation. Like this is exactly what Lamar Jackson needed, and this is quite frankly exactly what Derrick Henry needed.
Yeah, it's a great situation in that he gets to, I mean, he's closing out these games in a way that it seems like he goes for 40 every week, at least one long run.
70
every week, which at least 40
yeah.
every week, which is incredible for a player his size and his age. But it is. It's funny because we kind of do have this copycat thing in the league. Him and Saquon, they got to be making some money for future old running backs. Like one person is going to fall into this. And I mean, I guess Christian is hurt now, but what he meant to the 49ers, like someone's going to pay Bijan so much money when he comes up on his second deal.
Maybe. I honestly still don't think so.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're scared of the nerds making fun of them. Don't be scared of the nerds. Take a risk.
Yeah, the nerds are a deadly bunch, man. I don't know. I don't know that and I think both like Saquon's deal anyway we have to see the full body of work before we get there, in my opinion. But Derek, if he goes and gets them a Super Bowl with the Ravens, then it's immediately and 100% worth it.
It sounds like we are unearthing a minor little take there. Hold on, what's this Saquon business you got?
No, the reason.
I mean, you didn't say that about Derrick Henry. He's at the same point.
Derrick Henry could set the single season rushing record this year.
Don't try to cape. I do not need two white civil rights activists. Don't try to defend Jeff Darlington. I got his about to put out a great take.
Hold on a second.
Back up, golf man. Let him live. He wants to make a hot take. Let him make a hot take. So you think Saquon's going to be a bust? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying a long-term contract on a running back you need a few years. Like you need to find out. And by the way, like Derrick Henry, if he proves to be the missing piece to a Super Bowl, that validates it right there.
All right. Well,
Saquon Barkley needs to prove to be that. And I'm not saying that he's not earning his money, but you have to see the length of the contract before that proves to be the case. Like that's to me the reason why the Giants were willing to let him go.
It sounds like we're two archaeologists.
This is not a hot take.
No, it sounds like
no. Of a hot take. Hot take here is to say that the Giants were idiots for letting Saquon go.
That's not a hot take.
We don't know yet.
We do know.
I'm giving you the patient take.
I don't like that. It sounds like you and I have discovered a take together, and you don't want it. I'm taking this take. Wait till I go on Get Up next week.
I don't want this take.
Taking this take.
Better not say in the production meeting.
No, this does feel like a real solid B block on Get Up.
Last week though, I guarded against any take takers by going with the most aggressive take possible. That Lamar Jackson is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Who'd you take that take from?
It wasn't in a production meeting. It was at our show.
Oh, it was you. It was a take though. It was a take. You took a take.
I mean, I guess. Charlie and I came to this conclusion together, and he believes that
I sheepishly said it to Domonique, and he's like, "Oh, I like it. It's mine now."
That is a take.
I know.
Lamar
see?
Jackson's better than Patrick Mahomes.
If you got the courage to go with takes that are that far out, nobody can take your takes. So that's it. Maybe you need to come with more aggressive takes. I promise you that. Nope. Bleep. If you heard that take, he won't let that slip out his mouth.
That's how you do it. All right, I got my good game.
What's up, man?
It might not be that good of a game, depending on if you play.
Don't start underselling it, man.
But it might be the best game of the week.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's Commanders Bears, and the betting line right now reflects Jaden Daniels not playing. That's the Bears being favored by 3 on the road against the Commanders. We're taping this on Thursday. Jaden Daniels did not practice today, but Shefty reported that he's planning to practice tomorrow. Big time measuring stick game to see how good Washington actually is if Daniels does play, because the Bears defense has been really good. And this is just going to be fun because Caleb is coming into this game playing the best football of his season. And anytime Daniels is out there, that offense is electric. It feels like they convert every third down, every fourth down, and they move the ball well.
I think that's one of those games that's just like fun on paper.
Yeah. But
then you get there and it's like second quarter rolls around. You're like, oh, all right, I get it. Storyline's over. And that's assuming that Jaden, I'm not trying to crap on your game here, but that's also assuming Jaden Daniels plays, which
I don't think he's going to play either.
It'll be in DC, which is Caleb's return, which is nice. That's exciting. A local guy, Gonzaga. I mean, actually, the interesting question here to me is one aimed at Charlie. Because, Jeff, if you didn't know this, Charlie is a Commanders fan, born and raised in D.C., and I've never known Charlie to be a legitimate sports fan because as long as I've known Charlie, he's been a broken sports fan. So we watch, I don't know if you watch games with broken sports fans or talk to them about their team before. They don't get excited. Yeah, they're like up by 7 points, and they're like, watch how we this up. Yeah. It's like it's not a fun experience. But now I finally met real fan Charlie where he starts saying we. His man is weeing so much every week.
That's so good.
I'm the spirit coordinator of this team.
Hey, let me just ask you a quick question. Were you saying we during RG3's?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. I was a big time we guy in 2012.
That's a perfect segue because that's my actual question is like, do you want Jaden Daniels to play?
So,
or because it's bruised ribs and it's not like knee, you're like, get out there and bruise him some more.
No. We're taking the long view at this. I want him to play because I think it could be a really fun game of the on paper game like we talked about of Caleb and Jaden. And it's not like Washington's defense has been that stout, so it conceivably could be a high scoring game if both guys are out there. But no, I want the long view of all of this. I mean, they're playing at formerly FedEx Field, so we know the turf is bad.
Yeah.
That makes me worried. Injured player, bad turf. Put Jaden Daniels in bubble wrap until he's 100% healthy. Completely fine with that.
It is ribs, though. It's not like a move.
Yeah. No shoulder, no knee, no ankle. We're good.
What do they give him for that, Domonique? What do they do?
What's that?
Is it still Toradol? Is that the thing?
Oh, Toradol for like a rib? Yeah, that's probably it.
Or do they go with something stronger, really numb it up? So
I don't know. I mean, I'm an old player now. Like, hopefully they got something better by now. But like I never really I had one Toradol shot in my career, and I didn't realize that this whole I'm kind of not cool, guys. Like, I was on the outside looking in. I didn't find out that everybody was getting Toradol and getting all types of special shots until late in my career. And I was like, oh, I don't have to feel like this? Oh, gosh. But, I mean, I think my kidneys and liver probably appreciate it now. But at the time, my shoulder and my neck would have liked it.
You know what's funny about, like shooting it up and Toradol and all that stuff? Like, even yesterday when I was saying on SportsCenter, I was like, is this taboo to say that he could take a shot? Because it's like, for some reason, I still like picture Any Given Sunday or something where it's like, is this, but it's like, it's completely common in what he will do. It just feels like almost weird to just say that.
The one time that I got a Toradol shot, like I mentioned, it was like a whole underworld that I wasn't aware of. Was you walk into, like, it takes a couple hours, I guess, so it has to be so long before the game or the night before or something like that anyway. So you walk into the training room at a time when it's slow and it's empty, and everyone gets the Toradol shot like in the butt cheek. So it's a line of guys with one cheek out. like walking up and just boop, boop, boop,
That's
like
great.
a assembly line of butt shots.
I picture the lights like super dim, like they don't have anything really on yet.
Yep, it
Like-
was it was on the road too, so it wasn't even, it was like at the hotel, so it was very weird.
A random hotel room to
Yeah,
get
just like,
stabbed in the butt.
no, it was I think it was like a conference room, so it wasn't like there was no bed in there. It makes it feel a little less awkward, I guess. It's like a table.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Those are the great insights that you get. Another take that nobody wants to take. All right. That was fun.
I have a guilty pleasure game.
Oh, God.
We can do it really fast, or we don't have to.
Nah, I want to hear it. Why
All right.
are you so timid today? What's happening?
I don't know. You've broken my
I
confidence.
remember last week when Stephon Diggs said, "I'm never the bigger man. I don't let anything go."
And I said I want to be like that. and
No,
then
you didn't. You did not say you want to be like that. You said, "That's me."
And then what did you
Oh.
say?
I said, "What?"
Then you laughed at me. You're like, "You're the biggest beta I know." And you trampled all the time.
And you just
I'm the
demonstrated
opposite
it.
of that guy.
Yeah.
Let's take this Stephon Diggs energy.
This is the classic the meme of the cat looking in the mirror and seeing a lion, like a little kitten.
Right.
So okay, speaking of cats and little tiny people, Bryce Young returns to the starting lineup against the Broncos this
That was
weekend.
good.
For my guilty pleasure, that's it. Dominique's favorite secondary in the NFL and a defense that's been really, really good. And when you listen to the way that Dave Canales talked about the Panthers offense, he doesn't want to be playing Bryce Young this weekend. He literally said this week's all about Anthony Dalton, and then he sprained his thumb, and Bryce Young has to be in there. And I can't think of a worse way to reintroduce your first overall pick to the starting lineup than that. And this is like, pun intended, a car wreck game. Like you can't look away from the car crash that's going to be the Panthers playing against the Broncos in this game.
Yeah, that's why are we so mean? Like mine was the Browns. Like I want to watch that. And you're like, let's watch Bryce Young.
Well, he did put in there my favorite secondary, so that is fun. Those guys, they play man coverage all game. McMillan and Surtain all game without the benefit of Myles Garrett rushing the passer. It's a lot of effort and challenge, and those guys stand up. And of course, it's a great way to end the show on Riley Moss, since we're talking about we started the show on white civil rights activists. Riley Moss is also a white pioneer.
Yeah.
I don't like what my show's becoming. I got to be honest with you. I don't really like where my show is turning. We are
Really?
defending Scotty Scheffler and championing the pioneer that is Riley Moss, whom I love so much.
You texted me.
Fair point.
I mean,
I'm happy you're
I
here.
wasn't hiding.
It's not.
Yeah.
This is actually texting you was a turn of the steering wheel back in the right direction from Darren Orlovsky. So I didn't want to.
Well, I was laughing about this to myself. I don't know if we have time, or we should go down this road. But it is funny how, you're kind of talking about like white people generally recognize that black people are cooler than us.
Objectively.
So sometimes like my wife will be like the UPS guy. I'll come up to the door and she'll be like, "Why were you just talking to him?" And I'm like, "Was I?" And she's like, "You absolutely were." I don't know why we do that sometimes.
Well, I mean, you stand out amongst the whites as a cool white. So we appreciate you sharing some of your cool white energy on our show today.
Is this where I like do something where I'm like, yeah.
We'll have you back again soon, I hope. I appreciate you, Jeff. That was fun.
We'll all get a tea time soon.
I mean, you are my favorite reporter. I won't get no damn tea time.
There it is. There it is.
Unless it's some sweet tea. We have some sweet tea time. I'll do that.
Good job.
You're my favorite reporter, but second favorite Jeff.
Top 2 Jeff, though.
He is a top 2 Jeff. Top 2 Jeff.
That's fine. I'll take it.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you for another great episode. Thanks to Mina Kimes for joining us, and Jeff Darlington, of course. Thanks to Charlie, all my great producers. I love you, Paulville. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.